welcome to another exciting episode of Winnebago Wednesday. This is our third episode of the season, and we still have a wonderful, wonderful lineup ahead of you for the rest of the season, which we actually don't know when it's going to end. I call it a season so that way I can end when I want to take a break, but realistically, I don't know when that's going to be. So anyway, this is a good day, and we have a great guest on here. So actually, before I even tell you about him and about what we're going to do, let's listen to him play.
Forget to pray, I'm fine, only eating white bread, so fine, nothing more to say, hanging on by my skin, only a simple grin that I think nobody knows, 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 nobody knows.
So, welcome to Winnebago Wednesday. Today we have our guest, Taylor Wilcox. Hi, Taylor.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good, my friend.
Good, good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So, we were talking a little bit earlier before we started about about your music and doing a lot of projects. So first of all, let's just start off on what is it that you enjoy about making music.
I think that with me, I'm very obsessive.
Okay.
So at all times, I need something where I can sort of. You hear a lot of artists talk about channeling energy or stuff like that into something.
Sure.
And I've noticed, especially lately, that I always need something to obsess about.
Okay.
So for me, it's something that not only can I put my obsessiveness into that.
Sure.
I notice that if I milk it like I am right now, where I actually do stuff that surrounds that obsession,
Okay.
that it actually brings a lot into my life, and I meet a lot of good people. Like I'm at Holly, and
Sure.
yeah, so it's one of those things where the more wood I throw on it, the bigger the fire gets.
Okay.
So I really enjoy seeing what it brings to me, and honest and also I think that everyone needs to get good at something. And if you learn, I think lately I recommend to people just get good at anything. Pick something and just do it.
Sure.
And you hear a lot in martial arts communities how like doing the martial art it develops their character. It builds them as a person, and I've noticed that by doing music, it helps address perfectionism. It helps give you a sense of community, and many other things. But it's something that is only bringing good into my life.
Sure.
Only good. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So, what I know about you, we're going to tell everybody else here,
Sure.
is you have a bit of an artistic background that expands beyond just music. So what other arts do you enjoy, or do you find yourself involved in?
I'd say not too many others. I enjoy looking at other
Okay.
types of art.
I was thinking theater.
Okay,
For
yeah. Well, the theater thing was kind of on a whim, and I guess I'm crazy enough to do it.
Okay, so what is the theater thing? So let's talk about that a little bit. What do
sure.
you do with theater?
So with theater, Holly asked me to do.
And Holly's not actually here. He's gesturing over here because she was supposed to come, but she never made it. So it's kind of weird for me to see him do this, but whatever.
Yeah, no, but she asked me to do it before we actually started dating.
Oh.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And to me, I sort of saw it as my way in. I guess I was like,
Nice.
I got it.
Yeah.
No, but that ended up working for me.
Sure.
So I did that, and we did a Midnight Summer's Dream.
Okay.
And it was just a small role and stuff like that, but that also brought a lot of community into my life, and I met a lot of really good people through that, and that was another example yet again of how doing something like that, it brought a lot of good into my life.
Sure.
And I really enjoyed doing it, and so I did one other play after that, again just a really small role, because I still don't view myself as like an actor or anything, but
Sure.
just the act of helping build the sets, helping tear them down, just being around it. I think it's good for your head.
Yeah.
And just being around that whole process, and again, it's more of getting out there and meeting people and applying yourself in a good and productive way, and it brings a lot of meaning into your life.
I had a very similar experience. My daughter was in plays, children's musical theater. Her friend pulled her into that, and so
Yeah.
I just came around to start helping out and building sets and things like that. And then I was asked to audition for a show, and I hadn't done a show in 20 years. And I was told about an audition coming up, and so I did it, auditioned for the role, and got in this musical I'd never heard of called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and
There you go.
there was a lot of dancing in that. I'm not a dancer.
Nope.
But
I can imagine you doing it though.
yeah, it was so much fun. I had such a good time, and so I same thing. I found that it was a community, and so I started doing more shows, auditioning for more shows, and after a time, I ended up owning my own theater. And
Seriously?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So you took it to the next.
I did.
Yeah.
And I would be in other people's shows, but then I got to, which is really fun, is I got to be in a show with both of my kids too.
Okay,
And
yeah.
maybe possibly because I was one of the partners in the theater, or maybe just because we were that good and we got cast. I'm not sure where that line is, but hey, it was.
What would we prefer to?
Yeah. It was a blast. But you're right. I mean, just being in theater is so much fun, and the community of anything artistically. Now we were talking a little bit about open mic, and that's where I got to meet you. Was that Kanaka Creek open mic, and the sense of community that's there. So tell us a little bit about how that was for you when you first showed up and why you kept coming back.
When I started going there, I didn't have any sense of community or any routine thing that I would do once a week even.
Okay.
No sports, nothing. I had stopped going to cadets years before that. I had stopped doing any kind of martial art years before that. And after high school, I sort of became lost. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how to spend my time. You know, in that period, it was more just trying to get by. And one thing I noticed is that once I started to gravitate towards music and starting to go to the open mics and stuff like that, I became obsessed with it. I became obsessed with songwriting. I became obsessed with the process of making my own music and playing it. And I think that's a really, really difficult process, and I only feel like I'm starting to become a little familiar with the nuances of it.
Sure.
But to get back to your question though, going to the open mics and stuff like that, it gave me that sense of once a week. Once a week you get to go to this. Once a week you get to go to this planned thing. It's a consistent thing for you, and it's still the same feeling years later.
Wow.
And I seriously don't know what I'd be doing right now if I hadn't started going there. And that just shows you the type of people that are there. And
Sure.
and it's cool because it goes through, you know, ebbs and flows of how many people are coming, of you know, the quality of musicians that are going there. And it's one of those things where by going there and asking people to come back and giving them positive feedback and being an active member of that community, it makes you feel good. It makes me feel good, so I just kept doing it. And I don't plan on stopping going anytime soon. I go less now definitely than I used to. But I mean, I'm allowed to take breaks.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So let's just take a moment and give a shout out to Pam Burns, who started this open mic at Kanaka Creek Coffee, and brought this community together. So thank you, Pam. So so you said you started songwriting, and I want to get into that in just a sec. But how long have you been playing?
I started playing marching snare drum when I was 13 years old, because when I was in cadets, whenever there was
I'm sorry, what is cadets?
So cadets is it's like so Canada has a cadet program.
Okay.
So there's Army, Sea, and Air Cadets, and I was in Air Cadets. My father was in Air Cadets, and so he got us into that as a thing to do, and it was extremely beneficial to me. It got me into music. So I started doing snare drumming, and I had a knack for music. Like, I had a knack for rhythm. I had a knack for teaching myself things. So I think that I think early on that weird obsessiveness started to show itself. And what happened is they needed a snare drummer, so I was like, oh, I'll do it. And there was an audition process, and without being taught or anything, I was much better than the other ones auditioning. You know, not being cocky. It's not like any of us were that good, but. So that got me started in music, and then I had always been sort of curious. Like, if there's instruments laying around, I would always gravitate towards the instruments. So what ended up happening is, before the snare drum thing in grade 6, we had a guitar class once a week, and to me that was like the best hour of the week. After that, I didn't play guitar at all, though, for years, but after the snare drumming thing, there was always a guitar laying around my house, just, you know, little cheap ones that I got on a birthday or something like that.
Sure.
And I would always want to pick it up and just fiddle on it, and it was years of fiddling and sucking, just being horrible. Like really bad. I have videos to prove it too, and that's the special thing to me is
Right.
I have, without even realizing it, recorded my progression over the years, and so I have proof that it's
That's
not
awesome.
it's not like, oh, you just end up here. And so, you know, I sort of I try to embrace that attitude
Okay.
of continually to be working on it and improving and stuff like that. And I think that yeah, so there was always instruments laying around my house.
Sure.
And I just kept playing them. And then after high school, I decided, oh, I'm going to go out and buy my own guitar. And then after high school, I had nothing to do. So 3.5 years later, here I am. You know, and
That's awesome.
I just became obsessed.
And with that, so you're writing all the time. Now, I look at your Instagram posts and your YouTube videos and love the music that's coming out of there. But what you're putting out there is original stuff. So you are writing all the time.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
so what is that? We just have a few minutes left here. So let's talk about what that writing process looks like for you, where you go from there not being a song to giving birth to this piece that that you're sharing with us.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to, it depends if you're singing or playing guitar, or I think a lot of it centers around a fascination with the instruments
Okay.
and the sounds that you get from them. So for example, you know, if you pick up a 12-string guitar and you strum a chord and something in you feels something, you know, there's not anything mystical about that to me. But it doesn't change anything because, you know, that's igniting some kind of spark or curiosity inside of you. And it's like, okay, once you learn to make a sequence of chords or a sequence of notes or something, then you realize, wow, like, wait a minute, I can make something here that I can call my own. And then from the get-go, that was my intention. I always wanted to make my own music. I never cared about doing anything other than that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that years later I'm still very prolific in how I write, but I enjoy getting some kind of a sound, usually on an instrument, always on an instrument first. Always on an instrument first, because the fascination always goes back to instruments, because I never started singing until later.
Okay.
And finding something that catches your curiosity and just sort of sticking with that and developing your toolkit around that. And then what you find is that you become able to piece together some really cool things, even if it's G chord to D chord to C. It doesn't matter, because if you sing a beautiful melody on top of that,
Sure.
all of a sudden that turns into an amazing song.
Yeah. Tom Petty did 40 years with those two chords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Free Fallin', or
Right.
any of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
great songs. Like it, and the real important message there is that the complexity doesn't change the quality.
Sure.
You know, you can have more complexity and it's a worse song overall. You know, depending on who says it. So, it doesn't matter at what stage you're at. You can still do that thing where you're piecing chords together or just piecing notes together and just following what fascinates you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have something in mind that you're going for. But yeah, no, it's just curiosity and playing around with it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So now I mentioned that I'm watching you on Instagram and YouTube, but for those that are just tuned into Winnebago Wednesday that don't know how to find you, where would they find you in these places and be able to listen to you?
So on my Instagram, it's not Taylor's, and you know, you can.
Yeah, we'll put the text up.
Yeah. So I post a lot of stuff on my Instagram because I'm constantly writing all the time. I don't know what else to do with myself, because it's
Sure.
what I do for fun.
Yeah.
I've started making like short videos on YouTube and stuff like that. And it's some silly name like Decaf Priests, which I found
It took me a while to figure out that was you.
Yeah, it's an inside joke from my work, because I work at a coffee shop, and we have these priests that come in and they always order decaf coffee.
Awesome.
So yeah, no, I just sort of stole that. So yeah, it's just the YouTube and the Instagram right now, and then there's like SoundCloud and stuff like that,
Sure.
obviously. But The Instagram is the big one because it
Okay.
allows me to just pump stuff out.
So tune in to Instagram, and we'll have the hashtag or the ad, or I don't know what you kids are calling it these days, on the text. So so I was thinking we'd play a little bit more music. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we're gonna do some originals.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
So Taylor Wilcox.
I'll write in a red for you, paint across his head for two. Beneath an open world, he hides, speaking a single word, divide. He is not a man, he is mechanical love. Bring him human hands, he is mechanical love. Spreading him open wide, now and then, unaware that you've died again and again. He is not a man, he is mechanical love. Bring him human hands, he is mechanical love. He is not a man, he is mechanical love. Bring him human hands, he is mechanical love.
We've got another song coming up for you in just a moment, but first, I'd like to ask you to help support the show and support local artists and the music that they're providing by sharing and subscribing this video series. We're going to keep on bringing local talent to you at no charge. So we just ask that you spread the word about the amazing talent that they have by letting others know about it. So thank you very much, and back to the show.
There's a burp.